Hello, my name is Dr. Sandra Dorman, and I'm the Director of the Centre for Research in Occupational Safety and Health. Today, on the Northern Ontario Community Immunity Series, we're going to talk about how do vaccines stimulate my immune system to protect me against COVID-19. To watch the entire series, please visit on our website at CROSH.ca. To understand how vaccines work, we want to first understand a little bit about how COVID-19, the virus, stimulates our immune system. Most viruses in our community are viruses that are kind of always hanging around. Our body interacts with them, develops an immune response to them, and then we recover from that illness. And typically, the virus from year to year will mutate a little bit so that it can reinfect us, and then our immune system responds again. And in sort of this cycle of infection recovery, the virus is changing, but it's somewhat similar to the original virus. And so even though we are stimulating our immune system to respond to it, often we sort of have a little bit of a strategy already, if you will, in how to respond to that infection, okay? Now, the virus that causes COVID-19 is called Severe Acute Respiratory Syndrome Coronavirus 2. And this virus is different from other viruses in our environment because this one's really brand new. And a brand new virus, it happens every once in a while, and when it happens, your immune system really has no strategy in how to get rid of it. And so you're more likely to become sick from it. And when you become sick, when it infects your cells, first and foremost, you have to stimulate that part of the immune system that deals with new infections. So that part's called the adaptive system. And I mean, the name tells you, right? It adapts to new things in your environment, right? The adaptive immune system, though, first it has to see the new infection, and then it has to figure out how to respond to it, and then it has to mount a response, and then it gets rid of it. And so that whole process typically takes about 10 to 14 days. And during those 10 to 14 days, you got infected, you got very sick, finally your immune system got a good response, and then you got better, right? And so that's your cycle. Now, the excellent thing about the adaptive immune response is that it develops this component called memory, which means that if in the future you get the same infection again, those memory cells will recognize it and it will activate your adaptive immune response really quickly, and either you won't get sick at all or you'll just get a little bit sick and then you'll recover much more quickly. Vaccines or vaccination, it's trying to do the exact same thing. It is stimulating the adaptive immune response, but it's doing it in a way where you actually don't get exposed to the illness at all. You don't develop the illness at all. And in the case of the COVID-19 vaccines, it's taking a piece of the COVID-19 virus, in this case, the piece that's called the spike protein. It's introducing that to your body in a way that it's showing the immune system and stimulating the adaptive immune system to recognize the spike protein as the thing that it needs to kill, the thing that it needs to develop a response to get rid of. I'm sure you've all seen sort of graphics of what the COVID virus looks like, right? And it's usually like a ball with all these red protrusions coming out of the surface. And those red protrusions are the spike protein. And the spike protein is actually pretty important for the virus because it's the spike protein that allows it to grab onto your cell. And in addition, that's how it gains access to your cell. And of course, once the virus gets into your cell, it makes your cell into a little virus factory where all it does is produce new virus that then spreads to other cells. When vaccines get your immune system to target the spike protein as the harmful thing, it's very helpful. One, because the spike protein is so obvious on the outside of the virus when it comes into your cells. So you can get a pretty immediate response from your memory cells to attack that virus. But also, by targeting the spike protein, you can even prevent the virus from entering new cells, because the immune system can block the entry by blocking and attacking the spike protein. Let's talk about the types of vaccines for a second. In Canada, there's 4 vaccines that are approved for use. We've got 2 that are called messenger RNA vaccines, and they include Moderna and Pfizer. We've got another 2 that are called viral vector vaccines, and they include AstraZeneca and Janssen's, the Johnson & Johnson vaccine. Now, the viral vector vaccines, all of those vaccines are training your immune system to identify the spike protein on COVID, okay? But the viral vectors do it by putting a harmless virus that's carrying the spike protein into your body to activate. And we're not really going to go into the specifics of that, because right now Canada is not really using any of those vaccines. Canada is using the messenger RNA vaccines. So I want to talk a little more specifically about them. And I'll start by just saying, okay, what's in an mRNA vaccine? First and foremost, there's the mRNA. That's the important functional part of the vaccine. Okay, we're going to come back to that. Then we've got fat molecules, and the fat molecules are basically what allows the mRNA to get into your cells when you deliver the vaccine. Then we've got some salts and some sugars, and these guys are like preservatives. They're basically there to keep the mRNA from breaking down before you even get the vaccine. And lastly, we've got a saline solution, and that's just to match the salt level that's in your body so that you can accept the dose easily without creating any osmotic imbalances. So what is this mRNA? Well, all of our cells have our mRNA. mRNA is basically like a recipe or a blueprint for every protein that our body makes. And the vaccines, the mRNA vaccines, they only have the mRNA for the blueprint, or the recipe, if you will, for spike protein. So the vaccine delivers a little bit of mRNA for spike protein into your cells, and your cells use that mRNA to make actual spike protein, and then they show that spike protein to your adaptive immune system. And in doing so, it trains your immune system to say, aha, spike protein, bad. We're going to get rid of it. We're going to develop antibodies against it. We're going to get rid of spike protein. Now, you should know all of that is happening in the cytoplasm of the cell, away from the nucleus of the cell. None of it involves DNA. And so there's no part of that process that is altering your cell's DNA if that's something that concerns you. The mRNA itself quickly breaks down and is recycled, and it's considered a very safe way to activate your immune system, because your body is essentially mounting an immune response to that spike protein, though, right? The immune system has sort of co-activation events that happen with it to tell your body that something's going on. And so some of those things include achiness, fever, fatigue, or lethargy. It's very common when people receive a vaccine to start to feel the symptoms of illness, typically only over a few days, but you shouldn't confuse those symptoms with actual illness with COVID-19. You have not received COVID-19 in those vaccines, so there's no way you are infected with COVID-19. What those symptoms are telling you is that your immune system is in fact responding to the spike protein that it's being shown, and it's developing an immune response to it, which is good, right? For the COVID-19 vaccine to work, you do need to receive 2 doses, okay? The first dose is essentially introducing the spike protein to your immune system so that it recognizes it. But the second dose is really strengthening that immune response, and in particular strengthening the memory component of the immune response, so that if it sees the spike protein again in the future, it will rapidly respond to it, mount a strong and quick response so that ideally, you don't even get sick with the actual virus. It's basically like training your body with a wanted poster for spike protein. And in that sense, anytime your body sees spike protein again, particularly attached to a virus, right, it'll quickly mount a response and get rid of it. Hopefully that helps you better understand how vaccines stimulate your immune system to protect you against COVID-19. Next on the Community Immunity series is, how does COVID-19 spread from person to person? And as always, we want to acknowledge the Natural Sciences and Engineering Research Council for sponsoring the Northern Ontario Community Immunity series. Thanks for tuning in. We hope to see you again. Bye-bye.